So where we are right now is finding really unique and cool and different kinds of stuff, which I see moving very quickly now, whereas last year wasn't. Last year we were still on the flames and the freeforms and the pyramids and the spheres. So what I have here, and I'm very close to Herkimer diamond mines, and I just got a large shipment of their stuff in. Herkimer diamonds, especially clusters like this, are going to be doing very well. The single one-off Herkimer diamonds, I think, have been a little saturated, and now we're looking for more of the clusters. We have green muscovite that came in here, which is on some goethite and some botryoidal hematite. Also really cool cobalt calcite, tourmaline specimens. Vanadinite is really popular right now, which is this stuff. Vanadinite specimens. Pretty much all mineral specimens right now are doing way better than they ever have. Right here we have some hematite with malachite, which is really cool. What's working really well for us here are coasters and wind chimes and candle holders and all these kinds of novelty items. We have wine stoppers, things like that, carvings, animal carvings, because the average consumer is now getting into crystals way more than they ever have been, and they're not so much into the energy properties or the mineral collecting. They just want like cool things that they can practically use. So I'm seeing a really good uptick in the novelty section of crystals and stones, so it's also something worth thinking about. Something else that I think people should really be thinking about is getting into higher end, better quality, bigger pieces, because there's not a lot of people doing it. And I've been telling customers this for a long time, which is, try to get into this market where you're selling higher quality, bigger, more expensive items, as opposed to nickel and diming on small stuff, which again, if that's your business, that's your business. But this is an untapped market to some degree because there's not a lot of people doing this. So it's an easier market to get yourself into. So I would say getting into a little bit more of a higher end mineral collection or bigger pieces is going to make a lot of sense, especially if you're trying to find your own way in this industry. Retail shops, especially crystal shops, do super well with tumbled stones. But again, everyone has every tumbled stone kind of under the book. So what we're doing now is we're making smaller pocket items like little obelisks, little butterflies, little hearts, little stars, little moons, little angels, little skulls, all of these little tiny items that are more pocket stone that have a little bit more of a vibe to them as opposed to your standard tumbled stones, which everyone kind of already has. So I would say that getting into like more little kinds of items is going to be really popular if you're in a retail store. If you're online selling $5, $10 items might not make sense for you, but definitely little shapes that are pocket stones are doing very well. Like mini mushrooms are doing super well. Freeforms are slowing down for me. Comes in waves, comes and goes. So right now I'm not selling a lot of freeforms, whereas a few months ago I was. Fluorescent minerals are very popular right now. As you can see, you have some pink calcite. I still have some green cubic fluorite left, which is fluorescent as well. Pretty much anything fluorescent right now is doing very well. That also means that you might have to build yourself a fluorescent cabinet, get yourself a couple. I think Tom bought this flashlight online for like 50 bucks, right? Here we have some botryoidal hematite. I've been selling a lot of this lately because again, it's different. Cave calcite. I got some pyrite suns, which sell very well. Okay. And then here we go. We have the wine stoppers, which, like I said, are doing very well, especially because they're a novelty item, and people who are not really into the energy of the crystal and want to have them around are going for things like this. Again, we have more little small items, skulls and little Buddhas and little Buddha heads, things like that. So malachite right now is extremely hard to get, especially good quality stuff. So I would say that any malachite that you find that you come across that's good quality, I would definitely be interested in getting my hands on that. This is also raw malachite, so I'd be also really interested in this material. Blue barite, which is a really hard one. It comes in waves. Sometimes there's material in the market, sometimes there's not, but either way, it's a very valuable mineral. Tangerine quartz, also very popular. We have some, these are tangerine lemurians. Super nice stuff. Also something that would be very interesting. I think people do very well with this material. This is more of a new find. And this is a little bit more of a learning lesson than it is at an actual pitch. So this was called Cacoxenite, or everyone's calling it Super 7. It's not Super 7. So, but everyone on the internet is calling it Super 7. Maybe even at trade shows you're finding this as Super 7. It's not. It's red cap amethyst, and it has Cacoxenite inside of it. So while I know that everyone's selling it as Super 7, I don't sell it as Super 7 here. I sell it as Cacoxenite or red cap amethyst. And that's something to be aware of because it's fake information. Also, something that I think is extremely relevant and needs to be taken into consideration is that everyone's calling everything jade. Burmese jade or real jade is extremely hard to find and it's extremely expensive. What we're seeing on the market most of the time is either a green aventurine or what's called light green aventurine, which is actually a nylon stone and everyone calls it jade. There's also jadeite floating around here. This is also a light green aventurine. So it's one of those things where everyone calls everything jade. The likelihood of something being jade is very, very low. Another thing that I think is really relevant, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, is the mineral business is becoming way more expensive, way harder to source things, and prices are skyrocketing. In China, we're dealing with kind of a serious issue where there is not fair trade and there's not ethical sourcing. I'm not saying across the board, but I'm saying that it's pretty standard in the mineral business. That's why everything is so cheap. And I constantly challenge people when they're like, oh, I can get this from China for $1. Well, look at the item and ask yourself, how can that possibly be made for $1 when the rough material costs more than $1 to make that item? And this is something that I think people should start thinking about more, because the industry is becoming way more aware of this. I'm constantly hearing from people, oh, I don't want stuff from China, I don't want stuff from India or Pakistan or Indonesia. And again, it's kind of their fault because they're saturating the market. If you have an Instagram page and you're into crystals, I guarantee you've been contacted 1,000 times over by these people who are not even real wholesalers, they're not even business people. They're just kids taking pictures of other people's warehouses and then sending you mass messages. Yeah. What people are looking for now is quality, fair trade, ethical sourcing, and make sure that your material is labeled that and is actually that. And not just you bought a bunch of stuff from China and then you're throwing it up on your page as fair trade and ethically sourced. And I'm not judging, I'm just saying that as far as what you want to be doing right now is making sure you have ethically sourced fair trade material. It's very important. We can also talk about a couple of things that, again, are not so popular right now, so you kind of stay away from potentially buying things that are not really selling very well, which doesn't mean it's not going to sell well again in the future, but right now it's slowing down quite a bit. Sphere sales are down significantly. Crystal quartz spheres, rose quartz spheres sell pretty well still, but on the average, sphere sales are down significantly. Also, all of this calcite that comes out of Afghanistan is also extremely slow. Shungite is picking up though. Shungite is picking up. What I've seen though is an uptick in citrine. As you can see, I don't really have, and usually this whole table is filled with citrine, but I've been selling out of citrine very quickly. Also, amethyst clusters have been selling very well, although it's a very common standard item. Small amethyst is actually selling it. And actually I'm doing this now. I'm doing like more of a basalt chunk, so it looks like a real mining situation, like this came out of the wall of a mine. I think it's really cool. And you can actually see how the basalt connects to the agate. And stuff like this is doing really well. I've been filling the shelf and selling it maybe like once a day at least. You know, selenite is also something that I think I should talk about, because one of the things I hear a lot is about how cheap selenite is. So you gotta mine it, get it ready to ship. You gotta pack it to ship. It's got to get shipped. It's got to be received by customs. It then has to get put out on my table. Someone has to then take it, and there's so much that goes into it. And when you're seeing stuff for really, really, really cheap, you should ask yourself how that's possible. And if you're okay with those answers, then by all means go at it. But if you're someone who's trying to really edge your way into be fully ethically sourced material, then you have to really ask these questions. How is it that this is 50 cents? How is this that this is $1 or $2? Again, like I said, I noticed a really big uptick in novelty stuff, which includes trees. Bonsai trees are doing really well for me. They always kind of have, but more the general public is getting more into the bonsai tree because it's a novelty item, and I think it's doing very well. And I'm definitely seeing a slowdown in the top polish point. I used to sell tons of top polish point, but now I am seeing it slow down. And when I say slow down is a good thing, because what's going to happen is that, you know, it's not going to really be on the market for a little while, and then all of a sudden everyone's going to want it. So, and that's how things go. Just because you're not selling something right now, I wouldn't get too discouraged if you have it. Just hold on to it. It's a rock. It doesn't go bad. Dishes are doing very well for me. Small bowls are doing very well for me. Always, you know, generators or or full polish points do very, very well for me. And that's something that always is going to do well. Malachite animals, which is right behind us, I sell. I go through that stuff so quickly. Thank you, everybody.